Welcome to another video, and with Black Clover coming back, I'm going to cover as many arcs as I can for every single day. As you know, I post anime content every single day, but with Black Clover's return, I'm going to focus on my favorite new gen, Black Clover. And of course, today I'm just going to talk about the Witch's Forest. Now, the Witch's Forest arc only happens because Asta, in an incredible fight against the Eye of the Midnight Sun / Golden Dawn / Diamond Kingdom, was injured heavily because of his arms. Of course, Owen, who's a major factor later in this story, tries to be like, hey, goes to him, be like, hey, Mom, your arms are messed up, like really badly. And this is before he has to get that black arm. He inevitably says he really cannot heal him. He has to go to a more advanced healer, someone who is more advanced with the magic and things. So enter the Witch Queen, or Witch's Forest, where he, Vanessa, Finral end up going. I don't know if all the Black Bulls go, but those three for sure end up going to the Witch's Forest. Of course, Asta goes there and pleads with her, but since the Witch Queen is Vanessa's mother, she inevitably gives her an ultimatum. Hey, you, I will heal him, you become me slave. But Witch's Queen is mostly doing this out of the love and effect of her daughter. None of her daughters have left the forest. Everyone in the Witch's Forest, all females, have not left. They have no idea and went no part of the outside world, where Vanessa was like, you locked me up in a cage, girl. I don't want to dip. Anyway, of course they go at around the same time where the Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Sun start to do their invasion. The Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Sun are mostly after the same thing, the Mana Stone that the Witch's Queen possess. And of course, the Diamond Kingdom may want more of the Witch's Queen's power, but the Eye of the Midnight Sun is definitely there for the Mana Stone to inevitably activate the elf possession much later on into the major story arc of the first part of Black Clover. Of course, it ends up inevitably being Asta versus Fauna. Ladros ends up being there. Ladros, Fauna, Maximus. Yeah. So Asta and Finral, of course, end up fighting Fauna. Fauna has no shot, but inevitably it was a cool little fight. Of course, there is other generals there, Ladros and Mars. Mars is, of course, someone we meet in the earlier arc, someone who is heavily in love with Fauna, who ends up trying to help and defend Fauna and protect majority of the Witch's Forest, as of course he now has grown a moral conscience. Be like, hey, we are after her. We're not trying to kill these civilians, are we? And he says, please. Of course, Fanzel, of course, ends up still and Fanzel, someone who was major but not that major, ends up protecting the sub-villages too. As he said, he went a little bit overboard with his magic, having a case of magic overload. But Mars still ends up protecting many of the witches, and of course Ladros and Fanzel sees this as an act of betrayal. Mars is like, I'm stronger than both of y'all. I got 2 grimoires. I stand on business. And inevitably, they try to end up killing him, but again, Mars is stronger than both two. I wonder if we'll see Mars again this arc. Probably not. Yeah, Black Clover's wrapping up. I'll be surprised if we see Mars again. Anyway, Fauna, of course, being incredibly powerful and having a spirit protecting her, or spirit partner in the salamander, end up fighting Asta. Asta, of course, with his now healed arms, be like, you ain't finna do nothing. And we know how that goes, where Asta and Fauna fight, bow. Fauna ends up losing as they try to tell Fauna that she needs to surrender and is, inevitably surrounded. But Fauna says no, and Mars goes in and, protects her and or gets her away from the Black Bulls, just because she knows that that she is Mars knows that she is nowhere close to their power level and that she will get stomped, but Mars inevitably still loves her. So there's that. Anyway, Ladros in the next major fight, and mostly the major fight that everyone has talked about and ranked, of course, is Ladros versus Asta. This is the first opportunity where we see Asta and the devil he has, Lick. I'm not really 100% sure what his name is now. Ends up fighting. Of course, since Asta still knows nothing about his power and the majority of his power, he forces himself to go into a rageful mode. Now, it is his first occurrence where he has the Devil Union mode. Not the perfected Devil Union mode, but more of a KCM1 Naruto mode where he forces something into his submission. Of course, since he does this, he is plagued by his right arm being black and will never regain an original arm again. It's even said, hey, you forced my power in you. Of course, we made a deal, but this wasn't the right thing to do, and inevitably you gave up your right arm for some power. Of course, this doesn't bother Asta any time after the arc, of course, as it works and functions as his right arm. Plus, Lick never wanted to cause harm to him in the first place. They just wished they went around, the right time or the right way about it. Of course, within the Witch Queen, since Ladros and Asta's fight became pretty desperate, of course, Asta ends up being the brakes off of him, but Ladros is still up and fighting. This is where we see the greatest Deus Ex Machina in Nugent, at least the more popular Nugents, come into play. And that is the power of fate, which is Vanessa's secret and awakened magic. Of course, this allows her to conjure fate threads. Listen to me. Fate threads, and I would be making it like a cat. Whoever she touches, whoever is in her vicinity, whoever's on her team, she can change the fate. So if you were supposed to die and Vanessa's there, you're not supposed to die. Of course. Now within that, she does use this power and ability against the Witch Queen, as the Witch Queen is, more or less testing Vanessa's power as she goes on to tries to kill Asta and Noelle in this fight. But she more or less is testing. She's more or less testing the power and the extent of what the fate magic that Vanessa has, and she sees, hey, I really can't beat Vanessa. No one can beat her. Your squad is happy to have you. And says deuces, of course. Now, we don't really see the Witch Queen again after this. It is said to be on par. She is said to be on par or more powerful than Julius, which is, highly likely. Or, as we see Merleona, Noelle's mother, of course in the manga at least, be as powerful as Julius if they can fully extend their magic. Noelle's mother's kind of different, but we see Merleona, and maybe Noelle's mother alive was able to greatly enhance her power. Anyway, at the end of this arc, we see Mars go home with Ladros, saying, hey, I gotta take them back to the Diamond Kingdom. Don't kill us. Anyway, the Black Bulls go back home. At least the ones that were there and involved go back home and starts talking about Vanessa's fate magic, and all well that ends well. Of course, if you like this little recap, let me know in the comment section below. Of course, I'm doing 3 more recaps. If I had to rate this arc, honestly, depending on this, like the first big fight, and this is the first time we see Asta really go all out, I give it a cool little 6.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you later.